Well, it's that time again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pick Your Politics. I'm your co-host, Dennis Silvers, along with my fabulous co-host, Stephanie Phillips. Look at that. And
Thank you.
everybody in the studio agrees. This, of course, is Mulligan, and he is our decision dog.
Yes.
And he's just a sweetheart. He loves coming on and seeing these people that we have on the show. We've got a great show for you today. You know, things are really heating up, not only all over the country,
Right.
but especially here in Nevada. We've got a couple of great local races. We've got some great regional races. We've got some great state races going on. And it's just an exciting time.
It is. There was a lot of primaries last night.
Yeah.
5 states we had primary elections.
We had a lot of primaries, and we're going to take advantage of those, But we've got a terrific show for you today with somebody that is running for a very important seat in Clark County. And, of course, that's the Clark County Commission, and they do a lot of stuff here in Las Vegas. Let me tell you a little bit about our special guest. Drew Johnson is a columnist, he's a political commentator, investigative reporter, and he's a former think tank executive, and now he's also a small business owner. He's known as a government waste expert and government watchdog, which we need plenty of. Some of the things that he likes to talk about, is very concerned about, which are issues that you should be concerned about as well: freedom of the press, government transparency, and political views and opinions. Drew is currently a candidate for the Nevada general election for Clark County Commissioner in District F. He is a former columnist and editorial writer for the Washington Times. He's also the founder of the Tennessee Center for Policy Research, and you wonder about Tennessee, and we'll get to that in a minute. And he's very passionate about a lot of those things that Stephanie and I are passionate about, and we're going to talk to him right now. So our pleasure. Let's bring up Drew Johnson, candidate for County Commission. Drew, thanks for taking time out, my friend. I know you're busy. You're busy campaigning like everybody, but we were looking forward to having you on the show.
I'm proud to be on with you, Dennis. Stephanie, thanks for having me.
Let me ask you this right off the bat, though, Drew. What in hell are the odds of a person being born in a city with their last name? And Drew was born in Johnson City, Tennessee. And in case you don't know, I've been there. And in case you don't know where Johnson City is or what they're famous for, and Drew, you could back me up on this, they've got the world famous Blue Plum Festival. And they also got Winged Deer Park where they play disc golf and some other stuff. But what are the odds on that, Drew?
They're a lot better if your last name is Johnson than a lot of other names. I'll say that much.
Maybe his family owns the town.
yeah, probably.
Actually, former President Andrew Johnson was born the next town over.
Really?
It's actually named after a guy who started a train depot in the 1870s. So no relation, no benefit, but kind of an odd little coincidence.
And I'm assuming today, I don't know for sure, Drew, but I'm assuming you do, it still has a relatively small population, right?
Yeah, about 70,000 people. It's not a big place. It sort of has the feel of Henderson, I like to say. There are, some amenities, but it's not like there's major league sports or anything like that. There's the NASCAR race, NASCAR track, Bristol Motor Speedway is about 10 miles down the road. So that's what everybody gets excited about, the Blue Plum and the NASCAR race.
Yeah. Is it northeast section of Tennessee?
You got it. It's actually closer to Washington, D.C. than it is Memphis. It's one of those geographical oddities.
I gotcha. So that's very interesting. Let me ask you this, Drew. What would you say was the biggest takeaway you got from being a political commentator?
Yeah, that's actually something I'm still doing. I've got a column at the Daily Caller, at Newsmax, Fox News and Fox Business and places like that call me on to talk about wasteful spending and government corruption. Those are sort of my main areas of focus these days, and some energy policy. But the main takeaway I have from 20, 25 years now of working at think tanks and as a columnist is that people don't trust government. Government wastes their money, and people have a right and a reason not to trust government, because ultimately the reason I'm running really is because people make better decisions than government about the issues that are most important to them. And so I see that time in, time again, day in, day out, that the more that you trust people, because people are good, and government has some very, they're easily corruptible, I'll say that. And so the more power you can give people, the better off we all are.
I know Stephanie's going to talk to you in a second here about election integrity and a lot of other stuff, but is there anything that the average citizen can do, no matter where they are in the country, to help get rid of this government waste, or is it just completely out of our hands, Drew?
The one thing that I think most people don't think about is how easy it is to request public records. So you hear about journalists like me requesting FOIA's, Freedom of Information Act requests from the federal government.
Yeah.
But you can ask your county lawmakers, your city council members, people like that, for their emails, for budget documents. As a matter of fact, I'm going through budget documents right now about the airport name change, which I'm sure we'll get to a little later. And I found things I never would have expected. So anybody who's passionate about making sure that their hard-earned dollars are well spent, is very easy to send an email and say, could I please see records about your credit card expenses or things like that. And it doesn't matter if you find something really interesting. It just matters that people know that somebody's watching.
Right, right. And that's available to them.
Yeah, for sure. Can you tell the folks where District F is, where those boundary lines are, and what do you think is the biggest problem in that particular area? What do you want to change first if you're elected to the commission?
Yeah, District F, the way that these districts are gerrymandered, they try to help out the Democrats, but they had to give somewhere, and that ended up being my district. So it's probably the only winnable or favorable district for Republicans, especially this year. So District F starts at Red Rock Casino up on Charleston, on the northwest part of town, and then goes down through Summerlin South, goes through Enterprise, Mountains Edge. It actually has Chinatown. There's a part of Spring Valley included as well. And then it goes all the way down through Southern Highlands, all the way to Primm. So it's got Good Springs and Sandy Valley, and then it's got a small hook into Henderson. So if you're south of the M, so Inspirata, Sun City Anthem, that area is mostly in my district as well. So it's a little convoluted, but the easiest way to think is if you're on the west side of the valley, there's a good chance that I'm running in your district. And Stephanie, as far as the things that matter to people, the thing I hear over and over again is public safety. I think that's something that a lot of people in Clark County, in Las Vegas, care a lot about, because let's face it, it's not as safe here as it was 3 or 4 years ago. Even if you live in a gated community, even if you've got a golf course next to you, you're still facing some real issues with property crime, with violence, and that's a main issue. People are concerned about water and growth and development. Those things, I think, can be managed easier than we think. And then the thing that's hurting everybody, obviously, is inflation and the cost of living and the cost of government.
Have you noticed driving around District F, because I see this all the time, there's trash that accumulates all over the roads and the streets, and I don't know if there's just a lack of street cleaners that come through, or they don't let them go through as often as they should, but I just see trash all over, and I wondered if there's something that can be done about that.
Actually, that is a product of the problem that the county is having in hiring people. It's the same thing that we hear about Metro not having enough police officers.
Right.
The county is having a hard time finding road workers, finding maintenance. Some of that is a state level issue where funding can be increased at the state level to make the benefits a little bit better. But, it's all a result of bad policies that happened during COVID that paid people to stay home. And now people are sort of in that mindset of getting something for nothing. And as a result, we don't have a lot of the people to fill some of the jobs that we need to be filled in order to have a clean, safe county.
Yeah. Drew, let me ask you this. How closely do the county commissioners work with, say, for instance, the city council members? And can that relationship be improved? And if so, how would you do that?
One thing that's very important to remember is that everybody in the county has a county commissioner. And so if you're in the city, of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Mesquite, Henderson, you also have city council members, but ultimately they also work with the county commissioner from your district.
Right.
So it's vitally important that there be a good relationship there. And one thing that's interesting is there are 7 members of the Clark County Commission. All 7 are Democrats. But when you look at Henderson and you look at Las Vegas, the city of Las Vegas, there's a good mix of Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
So I believe that one of the real keys to improving the relationship between the county and the cities in the county is to make sure that some of the Republican voices, some of the conservative voices, some of the small government voices are represented on the county commission, because right now we've got a county commission that's just really extremist liberal. And then you've got pretty well-rounded, 50-50 split sort of situations in the cities. And so electing somebody like me and having that conservative voice will improve those relationships.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I want to talk about elections for just a second, because the Clark County Commissioners certify the election, the primary we just had. That's one of your responsibilities. And given the reports that they were given as far as improprieties, shenanigans, whatever you want to call it, during the election, lack of chain of custody, things like that, what would you do if you were presented these reports and there was clear evidence that there was fraud, voter fraud, election fraud, these types of things that have gone on? What would you do? Would you not vote to certify? Because all of them voted, they saw all the same information and they all voted to certify the election.
There have been some really troubling circumstances like that the past few elections, and one of them actually resulted in Stavros Anthony, who was running for a county commission seat, going to bed and being up by 2,000 votes, and then here 3 weeks later, after they count, he loses by 10 or 12 votes, I believe.
Yeah.
So I think there are 2 issues here. One is, for the most part, our elections are good. We can trust our elections. We all need to remember to vote. But there are circumstances and situations where there is corruption. There's going to be fraud, voter fraud in every election. And there are cases in Clark County with the people who run the elections in the county, who ultimately are put in that position by the county commission and can be fired by the county commission, where some of the election fraud concerns weren't taken seriously. Things weren't looked at as closely as they could have been. So I think that there is a very serious role for the county commission that they may not be taking as seriously as they should. Maybe it's partisan, maybe it's political inner workings of trying not to upset, certain people. But the fact of the matter is, we owe it to our constituents to make sure that every vote is counted and to make sure that people aren't allowed to vote more than once. My belief is you make it easy to vote and hard to cheat.
Right. Would you vote to or suggest to fire Joe Gloria and get somebody new in there?
My understanding is that he's very close to retirement. And so I believe that by the time I would be in that position, he's considering retiring. And so my goal would be to ensure that the person who replaces him is as fair as possible, takes voter integrity very seriously, and listens to people when they talk about, because I heard exactly what you're talking about, Stephanie. Some of the things brought up when they were certifying the election were crazy and are not realistic. But then you have other people who said, I saw with my own 2 eyes, this happened and that happened, and I'm willing to testify in a court of law that happened. And when you hear things like that, there's a point where you need to pump the brakes and take it seriously.
Yeah, very, very good point. If you're just tuning in, Drew Johnson is our guest here on Pick Your Politics. He's running for county commissioner for District F. Drew, let me ask you this. Being a county commissioner is a very powerful position, to the point where some people voice the opinion that the county commission is really more powerful than the governor's office, really kind of runs the state. What's your response to that?
They certainly are the most powerful elected position for the people who live in Clark County. And after all, that's 74.5% of all the people in Nevada. So people joke that when Sisolak left the county commission to become governor, he actually took a a step down in terms of his authority and his power. But I don't think I'd go quite that far.
He doesn't want to hear that.
No. Frankly, I wish he would leave and come back to the county commission, but so we could get a different governor. But when you think about it, the county commission controls, and we can talk about some of these more in depth, but they control our property tax, our sales tax, part of our gas tax. They control what we do with our land, what we can build. They can control what kind of business we can have if we're allowed to practice that business. They control the airport, a hospital, the water. I mean, it's just crazy. Almost every aspect of your life, the county commission has something to do with. And quite frankly, the reason I'm running is because the county commission is too powerful, and I want to take some of that power away and give it back to the people.
Interesting.
Well, the commissioners years ago have been plagued by lawsuits, corruption, there's bribery, some have gone to prison. There's all kinds of things that have happened, and there's a current lawsuit right now against the county and your opponent, I believe, involved in the Jim Rhodes and gypsum mining property up at Red Rock.
We call him JJ. That's his nickname, JJ. Yeah.
So there's so many things that go on. People accused him of wiping out text messages that would supposed to be part of the public record. That's what the lawsuit states. So what's your opinion on all these things that go on behind the scenes with the county commission?
To go to the gypsum mining issue in particular, so there's clear corruption there. There's a situation where my opponent, before he was elected to this position, was an attorney for Save Red Rock, so an organization that was trying to stop development near Red Rock Canyon. And he was being paid for this job. He went to Governor Sisolak, who was then on the county commission, and said, "You've got to kill this." Sisolak said, I'd rather it pass. It's good for the county. And what Justin told Sisolak was, I will get you the support of environmental groups. I will get you donations from environmental groups. And there's an outstanding lawsuit that would be embarrassing for you, and I can make that go away. But for you to do that, you're going to have to vote to push off the Red Rock project, the vote over whether to allow it to continue into next year. And that would allow Justin to then be elected to this position, vote against it, and kill it. And then, of course, Sisolak would be governor. All the records indicate that this happened. This trading of favors, this quid pro quo happened. And in order to try to cover his own butt, Justin Jones deleted a bunch of text messages and emails that are a matter of public record that should be available through public records requests, like I talked about a minute ago. And so clearly there's this bribery, this impropriety, and this is nothing new. This is Justin Jones, the person I'm running against, the incumbent. He has actually told people in my district, I will not take your phone call unless you're a donor. And the way I know that this is so true is because people come to me and say, I've got a huge pothole. I've got a light out, a street lamp out. I've got an issue with a park next to my house. And I call him and he will not return my call. But a neighbor who's a big donor of his has those problems fixed immediately. And what I want to do is just have an open line of communications. I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, who you are. As long as you're in my district, I'm going to hear you. And this guy is just a no-show. He doesn't show up to events. He doesn't listen to his constituents. And now miraculously, that we're 3 months in front of before a campaign, he's around trying to make himself look like he's listening to constituents, but he's not. He's corrupt. And I want to try to clean up Clark County and getting rid of somebody whose whole premise for being on the Clark County Commission is to be a kingmaker, to continue the Harry Reid machine. Getting rid of him will go far as cleaning up government, not only in this county, but in the state.
Now, so you're promising me that you will fix my leaky roof in Summerlin if you win the election, right, Drew? When you win the election.
I have a follow-up to that last question. So if they are successful in this lawsuit against Clark County, and there's some big numbers listed in there, and if the county is on the hook for millions, how does the county pay for that if
It's a
they're
very good
successful?
question. And yes, so the lawsuit, as I understand it, is for up to $2 billion. It'll likely, I would imagine, if the county lost this lawsuit, and from my reading of it, they probably should, because under the Fifth Amendment, it would be considered a taking of private property. The county is basically making somebody's private property unusable, so it's a government taking of private property. So it would be about a two and a half, I'm sorry, a billion and a half, $1.5 billion expense to the county. And the county's budget, the county portion of the budget is $1.5 billion. So basically, we would have to double property taxes for a few years in order to be able to pay this off. So this has
my.
it's not just, well, some rich guy's getting a bunch of money from the government that stinks. This is going to cause our taxes to go up. So this is a really serious issue. And I don't know ultimately what should happen with this property. I've got a lot of thoughts about it, and I'm not sure how I would vote or anything like that. But I do know that the way that counties handled it is illegal, and if it's allowed to go to court, we're in some real trouble financially.
Yeah, that's not going to be good because I'm in that jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't want my taxes to go up
No,
to pay
I
for.
don't. I don't think anybody would.
Yeah.
You guys are face to face, say at a debate. As you know, your opponent, Drew, served as a member of the Nevada Senate for the ninth district for a couple of years. He's a practicing attorney today. He's been recognized as 40 under 40 and recognized as a, quote, top lawyer, both by Vegas Inc., and that I think was in 2012 or something. And somebody from the audience stands up and go, okay, Drew, how are you going to beat this guy with your particular background? Why should I vote for you as opposed to your opponent?
I think that what you just said about Justin sort of shows that he spent his career sort of in bed with special interests. I mean, he's in bed with these extremist environmental groups. Those are the people that he represented as an attorney. And he is probably the most liberal elected official in the entire state. And so it's very clear to me that he doesn't represent us. He doesn't do a good job of representing the people. And so as far as sort of how I compare with his qualifications, I've got a master's in public policy from Pepperdine, so I actually went to school to make public policy. I've worked at some of the leading think tanks in America. I worked at the American Enterprise Institute, the National Taxpayers Union. As you mentioned in the intro, I founded Tennessee's version of the Nevada Policy Research Institute. So if you like the work that they do, giving lawmakers ideas, ways to reduce taxes and increase school choice and increase liberty in the state, that's what I did. I've been able to, in my career, save taxpayers about $60 billion. I was able to pass a bill that helped minority business owners get rid of some of the regulations and licensing burdens on them. So I'm very proud about what I've been able to do in my career as far as advancing liberty. And I really do, this sounds corny, but I wake up every day of my life and think, what can I do to advance liberty today? How can I make my part of the world a little bit more free? And most of the time that's been coming up with policy or writing a column or going on TV or something like that. But I realized that the way things are in Clark County right now, and this district being winnable, that we need a watchdog and we need somebody who can hold people accountable inside the county government. And one day I woke up and I said, this is what I can do to make, to advance freedom today, to advance liberty today. And it's to run for Clark County Commission in District F.
That's awesome. Well, before we let you go, can you tell the folks your contact information, where you're going to have events and all of that information so they can see you and meet you and hear more about your policies and what you would like to do with the Clark County Commission?
Thank you so much again for having me on. This has been a blast. You can go to my website at drewfornevada.com. I've got opportunities to see where the events are, volunteer. Obviously, I appreciate donations as well. All of my social media is at Drew for Nevada. So I'm on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that sort of stuff. And you're always free to give me a call. This is one thing that I will do that my opponent won't do. I will answer my phone. for you. So my personal cell number is on online as well at drewfornevada.com.
Okay, I'm gonna donate $2, but I want to get my damn roof fixed when you get elected, because
And the potholes on my street.
and
I can help
stuff.
with the potholes. I think you might be on your own on the roof.
That is that. I'm just curious. Let me just ask you a question. Do you play golf by chance?
I don't. I'm really good at putt-putt, but I'm too busy trying to save taxpayers' money to spend 4 hours playing golf.
And tell everybody real quickly. I know you're a small business owner. Is it a marketing firm that you have with your wife?
Yeah. So my wife actually helps free market think tanks and conservative organizations in developing countries. Most countries have a Cato Institute or a Heritage Foundation or an NPRI. And so we go to those countries, and actually we've been all over the world. We've been to almost 70 countries, helping them get their voice out, helping them advance liberty where they are. So we help with building websites and with social media and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
awesome. Anyway, Drew, thank you so much for coming on. Stephanie and I really enjoyed it. We wish you luck in the campaign. We'd like to get you back sooner than later. And if there's something that you could reach out to us about, help you, happy to do it, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks so much for the time.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you very much. Drew Johnson, everybody, from Johnson City, Tennessee.
Yeah, I think
That's
he'd
kind
be
of ironic. Yeah, good guy, very well spoken. I think he's very definite in what he wants to do, and we need watchdogs in government. There's no doubt about it.
That's true. I think he's going to be a great addition to the Clark County Commission.
And
we need some new blood in there.
Yeah, we did, and especially break up the Democrats. I mean, come on.
That's right.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, we need equal representation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Pick Your Politics. With Stephanie, I'm Dennis, and with Mulligan. And we hope you enjoy the show. Let us hear from you. And we're going to see you back same place, same time next week. So get out and vote, everybody. So long.
See you later.